Hello everyone and welcome to QQEvolution. In today's demonstration we're going to be covering the topics of reconciling commissions both for your agency and for your producers in your agency management system. We do have a previous recording that covers commission setup in detail, going over all of the different commission rules you can set up for producers, carriers, and MGAs in your utilities section, and how to apply those rules on policies, as well as how to apply agents and CSRs on policies. So we covered that in the previous class. Today we're going to focus entirely on the reconciliation process. And that process is going to take place mainly in your reports section. So let's go over to our reports on the left-hand side, and we'll click here to begin. So here we are in the reports library within QQEvolution. You'll notice that we have some different categories for our reports here: financial, client, company. We also have some templates over on the side. We do have a separate demonstration that will cover the report section in a little bit more detail. Today we're going to focus on the reconciliation reports here, in particular the commission reconciliation report, which would be for your agency's reconciliation of agency commissions, or the producer reconciliation report, where we would reconcile producer commissions that have been paid. Let's first take a look at our agency commission reconciliation report, and I can double click on the report or click to open. So on this screen here we can see any open reconciliations that we have not finalized yet. We can see the date this was started, the companies that we are reconciling with here, the payment date, payment information, the user, any notes that we entered when we saved this open reconciliation, the status, whether it's open or closed. We can click up top to view the closed reconciliations or to view all open and closed reconciliations for the date range that we've specified here. By default, we would be viewing just the open ones, and any amounts that you would find listed on your closed reconciliations. Along the top toolbar, we have options here to open, view more information on the current reconciliation selected. We can remove this item from the list if we do not wish to process it or finalize it. We can generate a policy commission summary or producer history based on this reconciliation here, and we can click to create a new reconciliation if we want to start the process of reconciling for a new company that we have not yet opened up a reconciliation for previously. So let's go ahead and click on Create New Reconciliation in the toolbar at the top to begin the reconciliation process. On this page here, I will be able to specify the date range, and we have a drop down here in case you want to select something like all dates or just last year or last month. But we can also just type directly into the date fields here to specify the date range that we're looking to pull policies with outstanding commissions on. I can also specify the agency, the MGA that might be on the policy, and the company specifically. So if I have a statement from a specific carrier, I can pull up that specific carrier and just do the policies on that specific statement. We would be by default showing you the unpaid, those with unpaid commissions once we click the search option, but I can also click to show me all those commissions that have been paid, or to show them all paid and unpaid. This is useful in case I'm looking for an unpaid item and I don't see it. I can always check to see if it has been paid, and maybe I just wasn't aware. We can check the box to exclude policies already moved. So if you've already applied a payment to them, they will no longer show up in the search box up top. They would only show down below. And we can search for a specific insured or policy number as well. Now if I'm just trying to process a statement for a specific carrier, let's go ahead and select the carrier. I'm going to put this on all dates just because I don't know if I have any current commission information in our testing database here. So we'll select a carrier specifically. We'll say show us all of the unpaid commissions, and we can say search. We don't necessarily need to specify a insured or a policy number or even a company. We can leave this set to all if we want to just see all of our unpaid commissions in the system, for example. But let's say we have a specific company with a statement in hand and we want to go ahead and process that statement. Let's look at Travelers and we'll say search. So here are the outstanding commission items for Travelers, and we can see the different effective dates of the policies here. The type will tell us if this is premium or an endorsement that we're collecting this commission on. We can see the company that it's through, the named insured, and the policy number here. I can see the amount of premium, the total commission that we're set to make on this policy, what we've received to date so far, and any commission that is still due. So as I select these and I go to pay them, we can see the commission due amount. Maybe I'm getting paid $150 on this statement that I'm processing here. And we can see there was a $214 balance that was left over after we apply this payment. So once I have selected this policy as one of our policies that we're applying a commission payment against, showing that we're receiving a $150 payment on our commission statement from this carrier, you'll notice it's no longer listed up top. It's now been moved down below. This is the policies to be reconciled area. So as I select policies that I'm applying payments that are part of this statement, they're going to be listed down below here in this section. That way at the end I can compare the total of all of my payments to the statement that I have in hand to make sure that I have the correct accounts listed and that my totals add up correctly as well before I go ahead and apply all the payments in my system from the toolbar option above. So let's go ahead and select a few. Say we're getting the full amount on this one. We'll say we're getting $100 on this one. Notice it's tracking the balance after each payment. $45, and maybe we're not getting any on these other two. So I have 4 payments in total on my statement. I can see that there is $862 in total here. Just for argument's sake, let's say that one of these was a negative amount. Let me move this one back to the top. In case I've selected any that I've already indicated we're receiving a payment on, if I did anything incorrect, we can use the arrows here to move this back to the top and cancel out the payment that I said we were going to collect. So that $150 payment's been removed from our total, and that item is back up at the top in the search for policies area. So I can see the full amount we've received to date, $350, and the total amount of commission that's still outstanding for us to receive. But let's say on this statement we had a negative amount of commission. So there's actually a take back here, and they're taking back $50 on this commission amount. So if you have negative amounts on your statement, you can go ahead and just apply them like a negative number. It'll show it in parentheses. You'll see it apply to the total balance, and you'll see that there was a $414 balance after this payment. So our balance afterwards is now going up to reflect the negative amount compared to our total commission that we should be receiving. So if everything is correct on here, we can indicate our payment date when we were receiving this payment. The payment type, was this an EFT from the company? Did we receive an actual check from the company? We can scroll up here. Once we have the information selected, we can put in any details if we want to. And we can say that we want to apply all payments that we've selected here. I can also tell this to apply and print a copy of the reconciliation statement for me if I need to. We can tell this to save and reconcile later. If I do click the Save and Reconcile Later option, we can apply any notes. And this item has now been added to our open reconciliations that we saw when we first started this process. So again, if I want to, I can create a new reconciliation. I can jump back into any of these by double-clicking on them. One of the reasons to save and reconcile later is if I'm in the process of adding some items to the statement, but then I come across an item on the statement that something's just not adding up and I need to go back into my system to research that item. If I click return, I'm not going to be saving any of the changes. So I'll want to save and reconcile this later so that when I come back to it, all of those policies I've already selected and entered payment amounts on will still be on the statement, and we can pick up from where we left off without losing any work. So I can return, I can go back into the system, verify any of my numbers. If I needed to adjust some commission amounts, maybe I had set up my commission rules incorrectly, I could go in and adjust some of those. Then I can come back to this statement and I can return to where I left off. Now you'll also have the ability to view history. So if I select a specific policy here and we click the View History option, we can see a history of any items that have been paid to date so far. I can click to show this as a report as well. And of course there's the Help button on the far right. Now I'm selecting my items that are being paid on this statement. There's 4 items in total, amounting to a total of $662. If I want to go ahead and apply these individual payments against their policies and reconcile this statement, I'm going to click Apply All Payments, and yes to continue. We can enter notes that we wish to attach to this reconciliation. We can see the note I had entered previously. I can go ahead and erase that and enter any additional notes, or leave no notes. I can click OK. So that item is no longer listed as our open reconciliation. If we look at our closed reconciliations, we'll see the traveler's reconciliation statement and the amount $662 that we closed this at. And if we need to see details on the statement that we had reconciled, we can just double click on the entry here. And we'll pull up the items that we had indicated as paid in a nice report here. We can print if we need to. Now, if I want to show you where we can see these payments reflected when we're looking at the customer's account in the system, let's go take a look at Jonathan and Emily Martin. So here we are on Jonathan and Emily Martin's account. If we go and take a look at the company billing tab on their account, we should see that $567 payment here, commission received, and we can see the statement total here listed as well, $662. Now, since we are viewing a customer and policy already, let's take a look at the producer tab on this policy to see if we owe any producer's commission now that the agency has reconciled its portion of the commission received. Let's go back to our policy tab, and we can see the agency's commission broken down here under the Commission Breakdown tab. To the right of that is our producers. We can see producers assigned to this policy, the total commission due, what's due to date now that we've reconciled the agency having received its commission. We can see the full amount of commission now due to our producer for their portion. So far we have paid them nothing, so we have the total amount due now. Now, in order to reconcile commissions paid to our producer, we're going to go back to our report section where we reconciled the commissions that our agency had received. So under the commission reconciliation report that we had gone into to reconcile agency commission received, we have the producer's reconciliation report. And again, we can double click or click open to enter. So just like before, this area is going to look very similar. We can specify the date range that we're looking into. So if I ask for all dates, and we can say that we're showing any of the open reconciliations or anything that's closed, or we can show all the reconciliations. By default, we would be looking at the open reconciliations for this month only. I can currently see that there are none. If we go back to all dates, we had one listed here. So just like before, I can double click on this reconciliation, this open reconciliation, to go into it and complete the reconciliation process that had been started previously. Or, as before, I can click on the Create New Reconciliation option in the toolbar to begin the process of a new reconciliation. And like before, if we need to run a report on producer history for a specific date range, we can do so. And if we need to look into the policy commission summary for any particular policies, we can click on this button here to do so, and we can use the criteria along the top to search for the particular policy and show any paid, unpaid, or all transactions. Let's create a new reconciliation. And again, our screen is looking pretty similar to what we saw when we were reconciling agency commission, except here we are just going to specify producer and agency office location, and we can say to show us the unpaid transactions, the paid transactions, or to show all of the transactions. You can further narrow down the search by the insured or the policy number specifically. You also have the option on the far left here to use effective dates when you search. If we check this box here, we can specify the effective date range that we're looking in. Otherwise, by default, we're going to be looking at all date ranges. So let's go ahead and search for the producer that we had on the policy we were looking at, was Dickinson, and we'll say show us all the unpaid transactions. Let's search. So here was the policy we had been looking at for travelers. We can see there are two other policies for Dickinson here as our producer that have not been paid, or that have not at least been paid in their full amounts, so there's still a balance left over. And the policy we had been looking at previously was Jonathan and Emily Martin with Travelers as the company. And the total commission that had been due was $170.10. We can see that same amount reflected here. I can double click on this transaction in order to indicate how much I am paying on this specific item. So maybe I'm paying $100 to our producer at the moment, and I can see there will be a balance of $70.10 left over after I apply that payment. I could say OK. Now if I'm making any payments to my producer on these other outstanding amounts, we can do that now. So we have due now $8.44, paid to date 0. Let's go ahead and pay them the full amount on this one here. My other option as well would be to just put a check mark in the box on the left to automatically indicate that I'm paying the full amount. We can see the due now amount on this item below is negative. So if we've paid more to this producer than we should have at any point, if there was a return premium, a cancellation, an endorsement, we can go ahead and track the negative balance that the producer needs to pay back to the agency. Once they have made that payment back to us, again, we can check the box on the left to indicate the full amount that's outstanding, positive or negative. Or I can double click and I can type in the amount specifically. And if I want to type in a negative amount, I'll just put a negative sign. Let's just go ahead and say the full amount. So we're paying the full amount of commission owed on this item here. We are receiving back from our producer the full amount of commission for the return amount here. And we're paying $100 on this $170 amount. So there should be a $70 balance left over. And once I have indicated all the amounts that I am paying here, we can take a look at the bottom. Notice you do have buttons here on the left-hand side at the bottom to either check all of the items displayed above or check none of the items, so an all or nothing option here. We can indicate the payment date that these payments are being applied on, how we are paying this producer. Maybe this is going to be a cash payment or a check. We can give a description, maybe the certain number of bills that we've collected or the specific check number, and we can see the total amount of our payments as they have totaled up here. If everything checks out at the top, I can click to apply all payments. Again, you also have the option to apply the payments and print a reconciliation report. You can also do that advanced. We can also select to just print the reconciliation statement or to save and reconcile this later, leaving it as an open balance amount, an open reconciliation that we can return to. We can also view the producer's history or view the history and breakdown for this specific policy for the producer. Now I've already gone ahead and applied the payments when I click to apply and print advanced. So whether we are doing apply and print or apply and print advanced, it's going to print you a report alongside applying the payments that you've indicated. You can either have a basic version of that report or the advanced will give you more detailed information on that report. Again, returning back, we can see the open items still left to reconcile. So if I wanted to jump into one of these here, I could do so. And again, if we were applying these payments, we can say apply all payments, apply and print, or apply and print advanced. Let's do the apply and print on this option this time. And this would be a more basic copy of the commission reconciliation report. Now let's just create one more reconciliation so we can show that apply and print advanced report just to kind of get an idea of the difference between the two. I'll select myself as producer and let's see all unpaid accounts. Let's say we're receiving the full amount on this one here and I'll say apply and print advanced. So you can see there's a little bit more detail on this report as to what the commission payments are, what they're being applied to, what the total amounts are. So your apply and pay advanced option is going to give you a more detailed commission reconciliation report. You always have the option to export these to Excel if need be. Now if we go back to the account we had been looking at, let's go back to our dashboard. And our recent accounts, we can see Jonathan and Emily Martin. And if we now go to our producer tab, we should see what was due to date, the $170.10. What we've paid to date so far, that $100 amount that we had paid to our producer has been reconciled here as paid, and so the due now amount is only at $70.10. If we were to go back to the reconciliation for this producer, we should see the balance left over for that one account that we haven't paid them the full amount on yet. So you can see that the system will track your ongoing balances, so there's never any amounts that slip between the cracks. Now, just like when we were reconciling agency commission with our producers, if we're viewing the closed reconciliation statements here, we can see the amounts that these were closed at, and I can double click on the statement if we need to see it in a report. And again, we can export these to Excel if necessary or print these reports. Now, if I need to correct any mistakes done here, we will pretty much have two options available to us when it comes to agency commissions, and there's really only one option available when it comes to producer commissions if there's any errors. Let's go back, and let's go to our customer's account and take a look at their company billing. Now, in the case of agency commission received, you always have the ability to void the line item here. So we can see here there's a $567 amount, part of this $662 statement, and I have voided this item, which is why it's highlighted in yellow. We can click void up at the top in order to void an item. This is permanent, so make sure that is what you want to do. Once the item has been voided, I cannot unvoid it. If I double click on my reconciliation statement now, we can see the one item has been voided off of the statement. Our statement's previous total was $662, but we have voided off this $567 payment. If I need to, I can go back into Martin, Jonathan, and Emily, go into the reconciliation and reconcile that $567 amount has been received. The other amounts on this statement should not be affected by you voiding the one line item. The other option would be to go into the reconciliation for your agency, and to click on the Create New Reconciliation option and look specifically for the account that you had entered the error amount on. So let's search again for travelers, all date ranges. And let's say that on this account here for Brown, John, and Jan, we had entered that we received $100 when really it was only supposed to be $10. We accidentally put an extra zero in there. If I want to, remember, I can go to that account, go to their company billing, and I can void out that $100 amount, and I can come back in here and enter it correctly. Your other option would be just to go in here and enter in maybe the negative amount to offset the error. So really I should have only received $10, I entered in $100, so I'm going to put in a negative $90 amount to offset that. And when I go ahead to apply all payments, we can enter a note. So I now have that as a closed reconciliation item with a note. We can double click on it. We can see the note that was entered here up at the top. And if I go to John and Jan Brown and we take a look at their company billing, let's show all accounts. We should see that $100 amount that was part of that initial reconciliation, and we can see the negative $90 amount that we had entered to offset the error of the $100 amount, which should have been $10. Again, I can double click on these items to view the statement, so I can see I didn't void out this $100 item like we had voided out the prior one, but I did enter the negative amount to offset it. And this one has a note on it, correction from the 6-1 reconciliation. So you could do that one way or the other. It's preferable to void the transaction and redo it, but the reason I show you both ways is because when it comes to your producers, if we take a look at our policies here, when it comes to our producer, if we can see the amount that we have been paid to date, Once we have voided the amount the agency received, the due amount is back to zero. So we're not going to show what we owe our producers until we show the agency has collected its portion of the commission. But if I need to void this amount out, I don't have the ability to void the payment to the producer. I would actually have to go into the reconciliation for the producer and enter the negative amount to offset the error, just like we did on the agency. So with the agency commission, you do have the ability to void that transaction. Unfortunately, with the producer commission, you would not have the ability to void the transaction, but I can just go back into the producer reconciliation, create a new reconciliation, indicate the producer here. So here is our account that we were looking for, Jonathan and Emily Martin with Travelers. We can see that $100 amount that we had been paid to date, and we had voided the commission that the agency had been paid, so it's now showing that our due amount is at $0. If I need to also void out this amount here, we can go ahead and double click. So now my balance will be at $0 again, and I can apply all payments. So now that we have entered the correction amount for that commission reconciliation on our producer, we should see that what we have paid them to date has been reset to a zero amount when we look at the policy. So let's go back to the policy, and we'll take a look at our producer tab. We can see the $170.10 that we will be set to pay our producer. What is due to date currently has been set back to zero. Since we had voided the amount the agency made, we are not showing what we owe the producer until we show that the agency has collected its portion. What's been paid to date was set at $100, and we have now been able to set that back to a zero amount. If we need to ever see the history and breakdown for this producer on this policy, we can click at the button on the bottom here. So we could still see that $100 amount that was made, and then the negative amount that was made to offset the error. From this screen, you'll also have the ability to view the reconciliation report or the advanced reconciliation report that this was tied to. One last area that I would like to point out in regards to commission setup and reconciliation is the premium sent option that you have on each individual policy. We have the ability to indicate that the premium sent is either net, gross, or monthly. And the reason I bring this up is because you may have premium sent options defaulting to net if you have not set up in your utilities how the commission should be calculated per each line of business with that company. So if I do have my commission or my premium sent set to net, it's going to indicate to the system that my commission is automatically reconciled as received. So when I go to my company billing, you'll see the commission due amount and the commission received amount automatically entered as we enter the policy. This is a brand new policy that I just entered into the system. So the system generated the commission due and the commission received at the same time. We're reconciling our commission. Now, if this was set up incorrectly and it wasn't supposed to be premium sent net, but rather gross or monthly, I can still make the change to switch that back. The system will notify me that I am changing the commission sent option or the premium sent option, so I should verify the accuracy of my commission reconciliation in the company billing screen. So we say yes, we set this back to a gross premium sent option, and if I go to the company billing, you'll notice it's still showing that we've received our commission. So if I need to correct this, I have the ability to void the transaction for the commission received. So I can say this was voided. I can say commission accidentally set to net, not yet reconciled as received. So now I know why this was voided and that we still have an outstanding commission balance that we're waiting to reconcile at a later date, since this was a premium sent gross option. Let me just point out in the utilities again, if we go to our dashboard, we go to our utilities, and we take a look at our insurance companies. We covered the setup of commission rules in a different video, a different recording, but I just want to point out when we go into a company, and let's say we select a line of business that we haven't set up yet. notice that the premium sent option defaults to net. So by design, if I haven't set up the premium sent option for this line of business, if I haven't created my commission rules, if I go to indicate that I'm writing a policy under this line of business that I've never set up, by default it's going to default to a net premium sent option, which would automatically reconcile your commission received once you enter that policy. So just make sure that you take a look at what the premium sent is on the policy. If you realize that it's defaulting to a net sent option, you can come into utilities and verify the commission rule set up for that insurance company to make sure that the premium sent option is selected correctly for the specific line of business. Because as I click on different lines, the premium sent option is going to go to whatever it's set up previously for that line. If it hasn't been set up, then it's defaulting to the net sent option. That is going to cover what we wanted to show in the reconciling of commissions in QQEvolution. If any additional questions come up at a later date and time, please feel free to reach out to us directly. You can always call in or email to our product support department for some additional assistance. Thank you for your time.